You said elections must hold, but
Yes.
we all know that elections are a process. Parties
Yes.
must conduct primaries, they must campaign. How do you think all of this is going to take place?
It's really up to them. They have to. That is what the Constitution, that's what the Electoral Act says. You have to do it. You have to do your part.
So you don't see a situation where they would say that they can't make it, or that even INEC itself was not prepared, it's just set a date?
I don't see that happening. Let me be honest with you. If INEC must do that, the Electoral Act must be amended. INEC must also require or request for some enablement to shift the election dates, and that can happen here.
You don't see a case where the tenor of, I mean, what happens in this situation?
To be extended,
Yes.
I don't see it happening. I don't. Even though the current acting governor is also requesting that the timetable be shifted.
Okay,
I don't see that happening.
Let me bring in this section 306 then, which was previously cited in some of the articles. 306.1 says, save as otherwise provided in this section, any person who is appointed, elected, or otherwise selected to any office established by this Constitution may resign from that office by writing under his hand addressed to the authority or person by whom he was appointed, elected, or selected. 2. The resignation of any person from any office established by this Constitution shall take effect when the writing signifying the resignation is received by the authority or person to whom it is addressed, or by any person authorized by that authority or person to receive it.
It's very clear. 1, sub 1, and 2. And that's why I said, even though the Constitution is not a perfect document, I don't see why we're making an issue out of this. Who did he address the letter to? To the governor.
To the Speaker.
No. The first letter, he gave it to the governor. He addressed it to the Speaker.
Yes,
right.
or given to the governor.
The question is, who appointed him? If you look at that section, 306.1, who appointed him? The governor appointed him. The Constitution envisages that before you can run for election into the office of governor, you must have a deputy. So the Constitution places a burden on you to pick your deputy. So by and large, one can go further in saying that who picked this deputy governor is the governor. Now, he submitted his letter to the governor, even though the letter is not addressed to the governor, but he submitted the letter to the governor.
Do you think he was looking for loopholes? I mean, the man is a lawyer.
That's what is happening now.
He's a lawyer.
Yes.
Do you think that he intentionally...
That's exactly what is happening now. Is perhaps at the time he did the letter of resignation and submitted it, it didn't occur to him that there was a loophole. It is not impossible that the team of legal consultants must have been put together to advise him that, look, no, you can't leave. The appropriate authority who ought to have received the letter was not a person that the letter was addressed to. So because of that, there's a constitutional lacuna. You still have time to continue in office. Forgetting the fact that there is indeed a resignation. The aspect of who received it or to who it was addressed is not relevant in this circumstance.
Do you think that, the fact that there was a misaddressing, so to speak, could actually point to the fact that he was under pressure and he was forced to resign? Could it be some evidence?
No, it would be difficult to prove that. It would be difficult to prove. I mean, for a man who is sane, for a man who has control of his thought process, for a man who is presumed to have some measure of discretion, to come to the fore or to come to the open and say, oh, I was forced to do what I did. Where's the evidence? It could be a mistake, for instance, okay? I want to leave. I could be under pressure that, look, if this governor is going, I also don't want to continue in office. Mind you...
It could be a mistake. Sorry to interrupt you. It could be a mistake, but it could also be deliberate.
I don't think so. The aspect of it being deliberate will not even arise. Take it this way. If the governor goes, who is the ultimate beneficiary in the event that the governor is impeached? It's the deputy governor. So if I want to take advantage of the exit of the governor, what do I do in the circumstance? I sit back. And let me wait for the impeachment proceedings against, because you can't conduct both side by side, right? Impeach the governor. While the impeachment procedure of the governor is going on, in the course of that, the process of impeaching the deputy governor, like what happened in Ekiti State a while back, where the governor and the deputy governor were both subject to the impeachment proceedings. One was absorbed, one was indicted. right? But both of them were at the tribunal at the same time, but on different days. Same thing could happen here. If the governor is being impeached, the deputy governor can sit back and challenge whatever the impeachment, the outcome of the impeachment will also be on his person to decide that, look, I want to continue, I want to be the next governor. And sit back, because you're looking at someone who wants to take advantage of a process.
Speaking about duress, I mean, if he says he wrote that letter under duress, wouldn't his, you say where's the evidence, but wouldn't his testament, I mean, his testimony be sufficient to say, well, I was actually pushed?
You know, it's not enough. It's not enough. You see, you can't read in between the lines. You have to support yourself with facts. Where are the facts? Did he do a letter? At the time he did the letter, where was he at this particular time? You had a governor who had been subjected to impeachment proceedings and who was going through it. At the time the governor was subjected to impeachment proceedings, the deputy governor was not really under any threat, so to speak.
What could stand as facts to juries?
I don't think so. And that's why I keep saying that, you see, for me, if he's taking advantage of what has now happened, because you see, like we say in law, equity does not aid the indolent. You sat back, you put in your letter. The governor has been impeached for a while now, and then suddenly you now come up with this realization. Come to think of it, I never really resigned. The letter was not properly transmitted. Why didn't you challenge it before the speaker was sworn in as governor? Why didn't you do all of that? Why did it take you so long to now suddenly wake up to the realization that the process is inchoate, it's incomplete? Let's take it this way. If it was addressed to the wrong person, you have transmitted. You now suddenly decide that, oh no, the person I transmitted it to was the wrong person. I now need to correct it. Are you now going to withdraw and tear it?
And say, no, I didn't intend to write it in the first place.
You know, that we must be honorable in this country. That's part of our challenge. We must be honorable in this country. We have to have integrity.
Part of being honorable is, if a letter is addressed to, for us sitting down here now, I'm supposed to give a letter to you, or I give you a letter addressed to Chamberlain.
Yes.
Would you act on it?
I can't. You see, that's the
Thank you. So, but the governor says, or the governor was quoted as saying that it is not in line with the Constitution, so I cannot act on it. So that means he did not resign.
No, you see, read the section 306, 1 and 2 very well. The recipient of the letter is not to act on that letter. Read it. The recipient of the letter is not to act on the letter, or even the addressee. All they simply say is transmit to the appropriate authority. So all that we have to consider here is whether the writer of the letter of resignation or notice of resignation, oftentimes it is actually referred to as notice of resignation.
But oftentimes,
it's a notice.
But you know,
you can't stop me from going.
Resigning, don't you also think that it takes two parties? Because
Yes.
if you want to resign,
Yes.
somebody must accept your resignation.
Yes.
So if the resignation was not accepted by the principal, can he then say that he really resigned?
It is his will to leave. And that's what we need to consider here. Let's take it this way. Someone is in an organization, decides to leave, does a notice of resignation, and gives it to the wrong person, right? Someone he thought that is in a position of influence or authority and transmits the letter to the person. The person takes the letter and says, look, as far as I'm concerned, I do not recognize your resignation. Can you stop him from going?
Well, oftentimes they can say take a break.
No, you can't. If he's made up his mind to go, you can't stop him. It is his decision. If you decline, okay, very good. Now, at the time he gave the letter to the governor declined. Did he continue in office? Did he continue in office?
Is it not possible that there was not time for him to continue? Because almost immediately the governor was impeached.
No,
So
he left before the governor's impeachment.
That's what I'm saying.
No, he left before the governor. Did he continue in office when the governor said no? Why didn't he stay back to fight the cause of, in quote, his own ambition, his own cause, at the time the speaker was being sworn in? It was because there was a vacancy, and that's why I said section 160. You see, the Constitution might not be perfect, but there are certain clear provisions in the Constitution. We shouldn't heat up the polity. We shouldn't import things into the Constitution that are just not there.
So how would you say this case would do in court?
Well,
because obviously some lawyers are seeing grounds here.
No, it's good. But what's the judiciary for? Is essentially to interpret provision of the Constitution and speak on rights that have been wronged. Every Nigerian has a right or has access to court to seek redress. So if the deposed, in quote, the resigned governor now decides, or deputy governor now decides he wants to challenge his resignation, he has every right to. The court will eventually determine. I am not a judge, and I'm not in the position of the judge. If the matter eventually goes to court, it will be foolhardy of me here to say this is what the outcome will be.
Because
but I will just limit
Can you just
myself.
comment on